All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me. This is Sean Rogers here at Zyxel. We're going to be talking today about Nebula, which is our cloud management platform for our hardware. As we go through today, if you have any questions, use the question and answer interface in Zoom to send those questions in. Depending on the question, I'll answer it as we go through, or I will save it for the end. So today we're talking about Nebula. So Nebula was the first full stack cloud networking solution aimed at SMB. We launched this all the way back in 2016. So we've been working on it now for 7 years since we launched it, constantly improving it for you. Now, when we launched back in 2016, cloud was pretty much exclusively for enterprise and oftentimes restricted just to wireless access points. So when we launched Nebula in 2016, we had support for security gateways, switches, and access points, and we've expanded a little bit since then to some other products as well. Um, so the idea behind Nebula, similar to what you got with Cisco Meraki, was it was something that made it easier to manage things, and we thought that'd be something great for the SMB space. So the idea as we go through is this is sort of what you do with your typical network installation, all the stuff you have to do, setting up remote access to your equipment, data storage for your logs, things like that. And with Nebula, the idea is to either remove or dramatically make easier all of those steps. So it ends up saving you both time and money. So we'll start going through just some of the sort of general broad features here that Nebula offers. One of them here is the ability to get your network up and running in just a few minutes. The Nebula interface is easy to use. It's easy to set up an account. You just go to nebula.zyxel.com to get going. Just decide that you want to create a new site, a new customer. And we've got some basic wizards that'll set up some of the basic settings that will get things out talking to the internet right away. When it comes to configuring Nebula products, everything is done in the cloud. And you can start doing your configuration before you've even settled on what hardware you want to order. A lot of the general settings are available in Nebula before you've assigned any hardware to the site. So you can go in there at any point and start playing around with those settings. Once you do receive some hardware that you want to deploy, you simply scan the QR code on the outside of the box and assign it to your customer and to the site that it's going to be going to. And from that point on, even before you plug in the hardware, you can do all of the configuration required for those devices. So by the time the hardware reaches the customer's site and gets plugged in, you can have everything configured and ready to go. So you just simply plug it in and leave, and it works. So in order to use Nebula, you need nothing other than Nebula compatible hardware. The agent is built in on the hardware itself. It will talk to the clouds, or switch will talk directly to the cloud. The access points talk directly to the cloud, etc. So there's no need for any other local hardware like cloud keys, CNA devices, um, computers that need to be running certain software, no virtual machines that need to be set up. Nothing like that at the site. So one of the nice things about Nebula here is anywhere you've got access to a web browser and an internet connection, you have access to all of your customers and all of their sites, since everything is being handled and done through the cloud. You just go to nebula.zyxel.com and log in. Feature-wise, some of the features that are built in on Nebula, easy guest access or wireless guest access. Whether we're talking about running a public hotspot or we're talking about, providing guest access for vendors or customers who are visiting your customer. Our access points have the ability built in to do captive portal. You can modify that captive portal. You can have it point to your own server if you want to do something a little bit more than what we can do. And we've got several different options for how those guests get onto the network. You can simply have them agree to a terms of service page. You can have them log in with Facebook. You can have them log in and create their own account using their email address, or you can generate accounts for them and provide to them in order for them to be able to log on. And our guest network. Now, obviously, the best way to do guest networks is to use VLANs to isolate those guest users from your local network. But if the existing network that's there doesn't support VLANs, you can still provide guest access with Nebula. We have the ability to do what we call layer 2 isolation, where we can block those wireless users from being able to send packets to anything except for the router going out to the internet, preventing them from being able to access any local resources, even when you don't have VLANs, um, even when you don't have VLAN capability on the wired network. On the wireless side of things, we support everything you would expect to support: smart mesh functionality, um, WPA2 and 3 enterprise, all the basic standards for doing fast roaming and switching: 802.11r, K, and V. On the switch side of things, we provide intelligent PoE. This allows us to free up PoE budget for other devices, so you can put more devices on the same switch before you max out the budget that's available on the switch. Standard network protection functionality, ACL rules, VLAN configuration, 802.1x authentication, loop guards, DHCP server guards, etc., and the ability to configure ports across multiple switches at the same time. So all updates, all configuration changes, all firmware updates are done over the air. So there's no reason for you to be going on site in most cases to do anything. Everything can be done wherever you happen to have web browser access. On the security side of things, we make it easy to do VPNs, excuse me. If you're doing site-to-site VPNs, you just choose the sites, assuming they're all being managed in Nebula, choose the sites you want to link together, choose the topology, and we take care of everything else on configuring those and getting them up and running. For your mobile users, most mobile devices now support L2TP. Um, so we have the ability to send out a script that can automatically configure most client devices to use the VPN settings that you want. So instead of having to manually have your IT guy configure their device, you can send them a script that you can run. And that works with Mac OS, Windows, and iOS. Unfortunately, does not work with Android devices. So Nebula was designed always with the idea that you have lots of customers and those customers may have multiple networks. So our design philosophy has always been based about making it easy for you to manage customers and manage multiple sites. So when you choose one of your customers, now we call customers organizations. So in Nebula terminology, each of your customers is going to be their own organization. And then and under that organization, you will have their individual sites. In some cases, you may only have one site, but if you have multiple physical locations, you would have multiple different sites under that organization. So each of your customers will be their own organization with their own rules and settings. So you can see here when you log in, you get a view of what's going on the network. So in this case, it's just showing here that there are 3 different sites that this customer happens to have. We have Google Maps integration, so you can have visual representation of where those sites are on a map. Then you choose the site you want to manage. It takes you here to this landing page. Now, all of these widgets are configurable as to which ones are shown for you, so you can choose which widgets you want to see. And you can see things here like your PoE budget, how much of your PoE budget is currently being used, how many users are currently on your wireless network, which applications are using up bandwidth, things like that. You want to configure something, everything is on the left-hand side of the page there for configuration options. And then if you want to choose to go to a different customer or a different site, we've got a drop-down right at the top of the page. So the right drop-down here will show you all of the sites under your current customer. If you want to switch to a different one of your customers, you just go over here to organization and choose a different organization, and it'll take you over to them immediately. So some of the things we can do here is we can see connected devices. So again, what data is over here is configurable, so you can see what you want to see. So for instance, when dealing with wireless ones, you can see what chipset their client was using, what channel they were on, what their signal strength currently is, um, things like that to help you troubleshoot stuff going on. On the wired side of things here on your switches, we give you this view here to make it easy to see which Ethernet ports on your switches are currently connected to something. We use color coding to let you know the speed of that connection and some little icons to let you know if there is a PoE being used on those ports or not. We can show you stuff here like uplink usage over time, and you can choose the amount of time you want to see. Then you've got some options here. You can run a ping from the switch to someplace if you're troubleshooting something there. You can power cycle certain PoE ports to reboot connected devices, reboot the entire switch, etc. For configuring your ports, it's really easy. You get a list of all of your ports, select the ones you want to configure, and it'll take you to a unified interface here where you can make your changes. And everything I've talked about up to this point is free. So Nebula itself is free. There's no extra fees to use Nebula to manage your products. There is no limit to the number of devices you can manage with Nebula. There is no limit to the number of customers you can manage with Nebula. Now, we do have some optional licenses that we'll talk about here in a little bit that unlock some additional features in Nebula, but the core functionality of your products, the core functionality of Nebula is there for you for free. At any point, you can log into nebula.zyxel.com and start using it. So when we first started out, we copied the Cisco Meraki route of doing things, where there was one set of hardware that worked with the cloud, one set of hardware you managed the traditional way. And so you would choose on a per customer basis which one to use. We have gotten away from that now with what we call Nebula Flex. So with Nebula Flex, that implies that the hardware that you buy is flexible in how you manage it. So you can choose to manage it in the cloud, or you can choose to manage it the traditional way. Um, so that way you can standardize on certain models of product for all of your customers, whether you're going to be cloud managing them or not. And switching to Nebula is super simple. So you've got your hardware, you want to manage it in the Nebula cloud. You simply scan that QR code, assign it to your customer and site. And when you plug in that hardware, or if it's already plugged in a few minutes later, it will reboot and put itself into cloud mode for you. If at any point you want to take that hardware out of the cloud and use it as a standalone device again, real simple, log into Nebula, remove the product from your inventory, and within a few minutes, the hardware will reboot into standalone mode. So again, there's nothing you have to do or touch on the hardware itself to switch it between cloud and non-cloud modes. Now, a key thing here to keep in mind is the configurations are not translated between the different modes. So when you put it into cloud mode, it will download the configuration that's been set up in the cloud for it, overriding whatever else you may have already previously configured directly on the hardware. And if you then take the hardware out of the cloud, it will factory default itself to the standard settings for you to configure. So when it comes to our hardware, we've got two different types here. We've got what's called Nebula Flex and Nebula Flex Pro. And the only difference between the two is Nebula Flex Pro comes with 1 year of our Pro Pack license bundled with it. So you don't have to use that license. It can stay there until you want to use it, but it does come with it. So when it comes to our products that are just Nebula Flex, it's our access points that start with the letter N. So any NWA series access points are Nebula Flex. On the switches, it's going to be the 1915, 1920 V2, 1930 series switches. So any switches with model names that start with those numbers, those are going to be Nebula Flex. Our new SCR50AXE lightweight security router, that's Nebula Flex. And if you buy any of our USG Flex security gateways that are not bundled with UTM services, those will be Nebula Flex. Now for Nebula Flex Pro, any of our access points that start with the letter W, those will also include that 1 year Pro Pack license. These access points also are the only ones that can be managed with a local controller. So if you're doing local AP management, you do need to buy Nebula Flex Pro APs, even though you're not using the cloud. On the switches, it's our 1350, 2220 series, and 3800 series. Those are Nebula Flex Pro. And then when it comes to our security products, the USG Flex series, if you're buying the bundled version, which include those UTM security services, they will also include a 1 year Pro Pack license. We're in the process of phasing out the ATP series, but there's still some out there. So if you're buying an ATP product, the Nebula Pro features are included with that because that comes bundled with a gold license. So that gold license includes the Pro Pack. Now, we just recently launched a USG Flex H series. So for the moment, the USG Flex H series are not really Nebula manageable. There is a mode that works with Nebula Pro that allows you to sort of do a pass-through management through the Nebula interface, but true Nebula management doesn't currently exist on the H series. It's something that's going to come later. And then lastly, we do have our LTE 746N1, which is a outdoor mobile router. So that is also Nebula Flex Pro. So now we'll talk about the optional licenses that come with it. So the free version of Nebula is called Base Pack. That's our term for it. So if you're browsing around, you'll see it referred to as Base Pack. That is the free version of Nebula. And then we have Plus and Pro Pack. Pro Pack is your full featured, full set, and we'll go through the feature differences here in a minute. Version of Nebula. And then Plus Pack is sort of a lightweight version that's designed to compete with some of the cheaper, lower end cloud management platforms out there, like Netgear Insight or something like that. It gives you some extra features, costs a lot less. So those are the two options for you. Now, the key thing to keep in mind is if you want to use Nebula Plus or Nebula Pro, every device in the organization needs to have an active, valid license. And again, organization is our term for your customers. So if you have a customer that you want to upgrade to Plus or Pro, every device under that customer needs to have the license. If you don't have enough licenses, you will not be able to activate them. And if for some reason some licenses expire before others, you will get a notification via email that the licenses are expiring and you need to add some new ones. After the expiration date, you will be given a 15-day window to add the licenses. If you fail to add the licenses, it will simply drop back to the free version of Nebula. Right, so we're not going to lock you out, but you won't be able to access those extra Pro or Plus features until all of your devices have a license again. And if you have a customer where some sites need Pro Pack and some sites want to use free, then you would just take that customer and you would create two orgs for them. One org for the sites that need the Pro or Plus Pack, one org for the sites that are just using the free version of Nebula. So some of the features that ProPack unlocks for you is machine learning on our wireless AP side of things. We have the ability to monitor your wireless network and make changes to the configuration based on what we are seeing as far as connectivity goes with client devices to try to improve things for you automatically. If you're doing IPTV with our switches, ProPack unlocks additional IGMP features that you can tweak and also generates alerts and warnings letting you know that we've detected that there may be some quality issues with those IPTV streams and suggesting which changes you might want to make to be able to solve those issues. We have an automatic topology mode in ProPack where we will go ahead and automatically link for you visually which devices are plugged into which other devices. So that's a nice tool to have when it comes to troubleshooting something on site, figuring out, well, wait a minute, this access point's having issues. Maybe it's something upstream. You can quickly and easily find out what is directly upstream. We also have another type of license called the MSP pack. So this MSP license is a license you buy for an admin account that you have. So that admin account you will assign the license to them and it will unlock some additional features for that admin account. So generally most people buy one of these and apply this to their main admin account. But if you have multiple admins that you want to have these features, you need to buy multiple licenses for them. This license is linked to that admin account. So all of these feature add-ons that it provides will be provided for every customer that admin has access to. So basically, what MSP the license is getting you is it gives you a view showing you all of your sites, excuse me, all of the customers that you're managing. So before I showed you here, we had, you could see your customer and you could see all their sites. We now have a view that will show you a similar view for all of your customers that you're managing all on one page. We give you the ability to set up admin teams. To make it easier to add and remove your admins from different sites and customers. It gives you the ability to remove the Zyxel branding and the Zyxel tech support links and replace them with your own branding and your own support links. And it gives you the ability that every customer that you have will have the ability to send out email alerts, which is normally something that requires the Plus or Pro Pack. So that way, all of your sites will give you email alerts, even those that are using the free version of Nebula. So now we'll go through some of the differences here, going back to the Plus and Pro Pack, the differences between them and the free version of Nebula. So to begin with here, All the basic features are available in all 3 versions. The zero-touch hardware deployment and auto configuration is across all 3 versions. Firmware updates and the ability to schedule firmware updates is done through all 3 versions. Access to our mobile app is for all 3 versions. Where we start to see some differences here is when it comes to the logs. So the free version of Nebula only keeps 24 hours worth of logs stored in the cloud. So if you need more than 24 hours worth of logs, you will need to either upgrade to Plus or Pro Pack, or you can use a syslog server and export the logs automatically to a syslog server that you run. Plus Pack bumps up the log storage to a week, and Pro Pack bumps up the storage to a full year. The next area where we have some differences is on the admin accounts. The free version of Nebula gives you 5 admin accounts per organization. Plus Pack gives you 8, and Pro Pack gives you an unlimited number of admin accounts per customer. We also have our own cloud-hosted authentication server. You can use this for 802.1x authentication. You can use it for captive portal. You can use it for MAC filtering. So for the free version of Nebula, you're limited to only 50 entries in that database. Plus Pack doubles that to 100 entries, and Pro Pack gives you an unlimited number of entries there. So some network functions here, the ability to schedule different SSIDs or PoE to turn on and off. That's available in all 3 versions. MAC filtering and 802.1x authentication is available in all versions. And then captive portal is available in all versions here. You will see here on the site there, or on the slide, it says, cloud saving mode. So with the free version of Nebula, if you don't log in for 30 days, it will stop storing logs until you log in and re-enable log storage. So now talking about some features that are only in Plus and Pro, advanced firmware scheduling. So we can do firmware scheduling updates on the free version, but with Plus and Pro, you get access to a lot more granularity on the rules that you set up. So you can set up different timings based on the class of device. You can set up different timings for each individual device, however you want to do it. Advanced reporting is something that's only available in Plus and Pro Pack. So it'll generate and automatically email out reports. You can add your logo to it. So maybe you want to send these reports to your customer to show them what's going on the network proactively. You can add your logo to that when it gets emailed out to them. That automatic topology view I showed you a slide of before, that requires Plus or Pro Pack. Email alerts, Plus and Pro Pack. And the use of Wi-Fi vouchers. So Wi-Fi vouchers is another way to do guest access. So if you want to use them, that does require Plus or Pro Pack. And then Pro Pack exclusive features, we have an audit log for being able to track when configuration changes were made. The ability to back up and restore switch configurations, the ability to use organization-wide templates, the ability to clone customers to new customers, that all requires Pro Pack. The Wi-Fi health monitoring and that AI I was talking about, that requires Pro Pack. If you're using the 1350 series of switches, the advanced surveillance features, those require Pro Pack. And to be able to do packet capture from a USG Flex, that requires Pro Pack. We'll skip that. Now we have another type of license that is available. These are our security licenses. So on our access points, we actually now sell a sort of UTM Lite license that unlocks these UTM-like features at the access point level. So we call that Connect and Protect, and then there's also a version called Connect and Protect Plus. So Connect and Protect is on like our 1123 AC. Connect and Protect Plus is on like the WAX 610D, 630S, etc. And basically it provides, like I said, UTM Lite filtering. It's based on an IP reputation filter, and it can block sources of spam, botnets, phishing sites, things like that. Now, this license is a little bit different than our Plus and Pro licenses. This is a license for your AP, and you can enable this on a per AP basis. So you may have 10 APs, but you only want this on 2. You can do that. And the difference between CNP and CNP Plus is the CNP Plus, in addition to giving you that sort of UTM light security features, um, also gives you application-based bandwidth throttling. So you can throttle the bandwidth for certain applications for your wireless users when using it. So next up here, I just wanted to show you sort of, how Nebula works because we do get a lot of questions on this. Um, Basically, we use netconf, which is an industry standard for using management. If you're a Cisco guy, you're going to be probably very familiar with netconf. That is what Cisco uses to manage their hardware, and it's what we use to facilitate communication between our cloud-hosted solution here and the hardware itself. So some of the questions that we get here is, where is your cloud hosted? Are you hosting it locally? So no, we work with Amazon. So our cloud is hosted in the Amazon cloud, gives you a 4.9 uptime SLA. Um, when it comes to your customers' data and information, none of it goes through our cloud. Traffic that's LAN traffic stays on the LAN. Wireless traffic stays on wireless. Traffic going out to the internet goes directly out to the internet. The only thing that touches our cloud is the management communications and the logs. So because of that, you can use Nebula with PCI deployments. You can use them with HIPAA deployments. For those of you also operating in Europe, we are GDPR compliant, etc. And one of the nice things here about us being hosted in the Amazon cloud is you've got basically unlimited scalability. So you can keep adding customers, devices, sites. You don't have to worry about buying new licenses to unlock additional features. You don't have to worry about it bogging down. So just to hit here, the main things behind it, it makes setting up a new network simple. It makes configuring networks easy. Um, you get basically unlimited scalability. It's easy to maintain, it's easy to operate, it's easy to get in there and remotely access things and configure stuff. It saves you from needing to go on to client sites more often, etc. So if you want to try this out, you can simply go to nebula.zyxel.com. There is a button on the page to see a live demo, and you can log in and play around with that. If you have any of our Nebula Flex hardware, you can always do that yourself. Just add your devices into your own site and play around with it. If you are an authorized member of our partner program, I believe we are still giving out 60-day demo kits. If you want to get some hardware just to test out and play with, we can do that for you. And that, guys, ends today's presentation. If you have any questions, again, send them in. I do want to point you to our YouTube channel. At YouTube, search for Zyxel America channel. That is the channel for North America, and that's where you'll find recordings of most of our webinars. You will find best practices videos, video case studies, things like that. And of course, you can always reach out to us on LinkedIn. And I'll stick around for just a few minutes. So far, no questions have come in using the question and answer interface. So I'll stick around for just a minute, but thank you guys for turning up. I have one more webinar next week where I talk about our new Wi-Fi 7 AP. I'm not sure if Tri or Marcus are doing any more. So John is asking here, did you say the ATP series is being phased out? Yes, it is being phased out. Flex is the new one. So Flex isn't so much the new one. So the differences between ATP and the USG Flex is sort of the design philosophy behind providing security at the gateway. The USG Flex was your traditional UTM appliance, whereas the ATP series um, was using what they called advanced threat protection, using sandboxing and artificial intelligence to provide UTM instead of the traditional way of doing things. The hardware between the two models was basically the same. It was a software difference. So to simplify things, what we've decided to do is eliminate the ATP series and add the ATP series features to the USG Flex as an optional license. So basically, you can turn a USG Flex into an ATP with a license now going forward. So that's what's happening. So we're simplifying things there by giving you, reducing the number of different hardware choices you have. So now you can just focus on the performance, and then you can choose to use it as a standard UTM device or turn it into an ATP device if you like. And so far, that's the only question I've got. Again, I'll stick around for a few more minutes here in case you're working on something. John's asking, are ATP units Nebula compatible? Yes, they are. They are Nebula manageable. The only one that's got any issues, I'm using the term issues here, is the H series, the USG Flex H series. So it does not support native Nebula management currently. That is something that will come sometime next year, I believe. But the ATPs are having native Nebula management. USG Flex have native Nebula management. Um, the new SCR50AXE that has native Nebula management. It's just that USG Flex H series that's sort of lagging behind here. And the reason for that is it's a new platform for us, not only on the hardware, but it's a new software platform for us. Um, so it's going to take some time to port over the new features into the Nebula interface. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end today's webinar. Oops, one more question just came in. So we need pro licenses on all devices plus the MSP license. So MSP is separate from pro. So if you want the pro features, then yes, every device for that customer that you want to enable the pro features needs to have a valid pro license. The MSP license is independent and has nothing to do with the pro licenses. So the MSP license has its own feature set. That is a license for admin accounts. So if you add that license to an admin account, it unlocks those features for just that admin account. And some of those features will then also unlock for that admin account when it accesses when it accesses any of the orgs that they have access to. So two different things there, and pro is not required unless you want those pro features. Rodelio is asking, is there third-party apps that we can try to use in converting on-prem to Nebula without losing the configuration? There is nothing for the switches or the access points that I'm aware of. I think there may be something on the security side of things that'll convert at least some of those features over. I'm not 100% sure on that. That might be something to email your sales rep. So you should have, if you're a partner, you should have a sales rep, either Jacob, David, or Andy. Email it to them, and they can find that out. But for sure, nothing on the access points or the switches that I'm aware of. John is asking, where do we see pricing for these licenses? These licenses are available through whatever channel you're currently buying your hardware from. So it's available through distribution. It is available through the Nebula interface. So if you're in Nebula, you can go into license management, and it will redirect you. If you are an end user, it will redirect you to Marketplace. If you are an approved partner, it should redirect you to our partner portal called Circle. And if you're a partner and you're getting sent to Marketplace, you will want to reach out to your salesperson and get them to convert you and add you into Circle. Circle will allow you to buy at wholesale prices, I guess you'd say, where Marketplace is purely retail prices. I want to say roughly a single Pro Pack license is somewhere in the ballpark of $35 retail, and the Plus license is around $12 or $13 retail. So I hope that helps. But yeah, so generally it's going to be cheaper to buy the licenses through distribution, but it will be simpler to buy them through the Nebula interface, when it redirects you to Marketplace or Circle. Basically, you can go in there, tell it what date you want your licenses to expire, and it'll automatically generate a list of which licenses you need, and then pass that through to our e-commerce portal for you to buy them and apply them. Okay, so Ray is asking another question here. To be clear, with the base plan, if I give an admin license to an organization, I can do that 5 times before having to move to Pro. So yeah, so with the free version of Nebula, each organization, so again, an organization is usually going to be your customer. Each organization can have up to 5 admin accounts assigned to it. So if you want to assign them more than 5 admin accounts, So generally, you want to at least one of those would be for you. And then if depending on how big your team is that you want to manage it, you would have one for each of your team members. Or if you wanted to give some of your customers, employees, their IT guy, their management access, those would all be admin accounts. So if you want more than 5 for that customer, you would need to upgrade them to Plus, which would get you 10, or upgrade them to Pro, which would give you an unlimited amount of admin accounts for that specific customer. So this is all at a per customer basis. So you can have 5 admins for one customer, 5 completely different admin accounts for your next customer, 5 completely different accounts for the customer after that. It's on a per customer basis. Okay, nothing else is coming in, so I am going to now, this time for real, end the webinar. If you do have any other questions, you can email me. My email's been up there on the screen, seanr@zyxel.com, or just reach out to your salesperson, and they can, if they don't know the answer, they can get it from me, they can get it from Marcus, they can get it from Try and let you know. Thanks for joining us, guys. I appreciate you turning out.